We are going to continue where we left off with our Public Works Administration budget. We have multiple lines here to go through. And are you going into some of these CSAs as well, or?
We're prepared to.
Oh, yeah, you have the road benefit zones. Okay, so that's all there. And so let's go ahead and start there. We are on page D70. And I'm going to turn it over to Director De Leon.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Board. I'm here this afternoon with Deputy Director of Public Works Administration, Alicia Ayala, and in the audience is our new Public Works Director, Glenn March. And so we're prepared. We were advised that brevity was going to be good, so we are going to give a brief overview of the department, and we will give you a brief overview and then be happy to answer any questions. And specifically, we'll look at vacancies and reserves, which I understand is one of the board's kind of points of emphasis this year. So with that, we'll start with Public Works. The Public Works Department has 11 primary budget units and 34 secondary budget units. Those are the CSAs and subdivisions that you just asked about, Chair Sabatier. The department's main responsibilities include the maintenance of approximately 613 centerline miles of county roads, 125 miles of which are unpaved, 125 bridges, and I'm going to say thousands. We have lots and lots of culverts that we maintain. DPW admin, it's the budget unit that provides the fiscal and clerical services to both Public Works and Water Resources, and we can talk about that later if you have questions about that. Engineering and inspection services, they manage the development of capital improvement projects. The Public Works Department manages Lamson Field Airport, and we have a fleet maintenance division that oversees 132 vehicles in the county fleet and approximately 128 pieces of heavy equipment that they rent to the road department. Not a lot's changed with Public Works over the years. We work on projects. As you know, road maintenance is a challenge, and it's something that we tackle every day. We are really focusing on capital improvement projects and specifically road improvements. It was a promise that I made this board about this time last year. And we are working diligently with our consultant to get a project before you for approval and get that out to bid. And we're going to get as much built as we can this year. The road department is up on Cobb working on prep for that project. And so we've got a lot of projects. We've got a couple of bridge projects in construction right now. And so we have a lot of things going on with Public Works. Vacancies, we're in pretty decent shape right now, with the exception of our engineering and inspection division. If you recall, your board approved a contract with Coastland Engineering to provide staff augmentation services to the department. We are utilizing them on a number of projects, and they've been a real benefit to the department, and specifically the engineering and inspection division. In DPW admin, we have a total of 13 positions, 10 of which are funded full-time positions. We have 2 vacancies. Assistant Director of Public Works is vacant, and a Public Works Service Tech, although we just completed the interviews for that position, and we have made an offer, and we have an accepted offer, and that person is in background, and we're looking forward to having her start on Monday. So, one vacancy in DPW admin. Engineering and inspection has 12 total positions, 10 of which are funded. We have 7 full-time positions, so 3 vacancies, principal civil engineer, the associate civil engineer, and the right-of-way agent. As you know, engineering positions have historically been challenging for us to recruit, and I don't see that changing in the near future. The road department has 34 full-time positions, and we have 5 vacancies. And this is a moving target here because things have changed since we prepared the budget. We just completed interviews for maintenance workers, and I believe we have 3 that we're working with that are going to come on board. So we're constantly working on trying to keep people. One of the things that happens is people join us. We send them to class, they get their Class A driver's licenses, and then they move on to other higher paying positions with the benefit of their Class A driver's license. So that'll be something that Glenn and the staff can tackle in the future, trying to minimize that turnover. But that is a constant that we deal with. Lamson Airport, we have 2 extra help positions. One of those is filled, so we have a vacancy with the airport coordinator. And Central Garage has 5 full-time positions, 6 total. One of them is unfunded, and they have 0 vacancies. So we're in pretty decent shape with respect to vacancies, and again, kind of a revolving door with our road department, but that's something that we tend to deal with. We can talk a little bit about reserves. If you have any questions, of course, at any time, please ask. But we'll move on to reserves, and we'll start with the road department, budget unit 3011. There are 3 separate reserves in that budget unit. The first is inventory, and that account represents the value of materials on hand, such as culverts, de-icing sand, patching materials. That inventory is placed in reserve, or we have some of that placed in reserve, and it has a value of $241,000. We have a restricted reserve in the road department, and that account was created to reserve funds for the overall operation of the road division in the event of some catastrophic funding problem. We rely practically solely on the state and gas tax revenues, and you just never know. So what we've done is we've set aside funding to sustain the operation of the road department for a year, and that restricted reserve has $7.2 million in that reserve. And then our restricted SB1 reserve was an account that we created following the approval of Senate Bill 1, or SB 1, that created additional gas tax revenues. We wanted to set that money aside for large-scale pavement rehab projects, and it contains a total of a little over $7 million. There was a reduction in reserves this year of almost $1.3 million, which is proposed to fund various pavement rehab projects. So we dipped into that reserve a little bit for pavement rehabilitation project. You mentioned the subdivisions and some of our side budgets. Budget unit 3062 through 3081 are subdivision road improvement budgets. These are individual budgets. They were created to track subdivisions and other commercial developments that had road improvements as a condition of approval. We keep the funding for those in individual accounts, which is the reason for the various budget units. Historically, we've kept those monies in our reserves. I'm sorry, in the fund balance. But we were asked to move those into reserves, which we did this year. And so all of those individual fund balances have been moved into reserve accounts. And then those reserve accounts will be retained until such time that a project is proposed for that specific development. Again, those are specific to individual projects, and those funds will remain. until those projects need to occur. Budget Unit 8463, CSA number 3, Twin Lakes. This budget was created to provide for routine maintenance of a service area that was developed by vote of the property owners within the subdivision. It provides basic road maintenance, annual road maintenance for the roads in the Twin Lakes subdivision. We also have occasional chip seal projects, and that has 3 designated reserve funds. A general reserve, which is created, and it's got unused revenue for future projects. That general reserve has a total of $537,000, which reflects a proposed increase of $104,000. Then we have a restricted emergency account that was created to reserve funds to pay for any damages resulting from an emergency event. That reserve has $187,000, and a pavement rehab account was to create set aside funding for special pavement rehabilitation projects, and that fund was utilized 2 years ago for a large chip seal project, and it has 0 reserves. So with that, that is our discussion of Public Works and the various vacancies and reserves in the various budget units. And with that, Alicia and I will be happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that summary. Are there any questions, comments? Supervisor Pyska? No. Just getting ready in case. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking at page D200, the last page of 3011, and just some big swings in there that I wonder if you could walk me through. For example, third line, 5355, from 2022-23, went from $500,000. We adopted apparently 17 million with last year's budget, and now it's down to 4.5. And then a couple lines down on 63-01, I see last year we adopted about 3.3 million, and in the request it's 17 million. So, and that may be just jumping from point A to point B along the serial planning of these projects, but it looked like some big swings to me. So, can you explain?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's just the progression of the project going from preliminary engineering into construction. So we got moved from one object code to the other. And so that big swing that you're seeing for road improvements, other charges, 5355 to construction in progress is simply the projects that we were in preliminary design for got moved to construction. A lot of that is bridge replacement projects money. It's not, it's funds that are earmarked, if you will. They're specific to projects. They're not a discretionary fund that we can just use any way we want. They're specific to projects. So the projects are meeting milestones and moving on to the next phase.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
And I'll add, if you look at 6301 and 6302 and 6309, if you look at the capital project list, which I'm trying to find for some reason, I just had it. Goodness gracious. Yeah, right here. Under the capital asset list, it does split them up in construction in progress, and then details all of the costs, and then construction in progress for roads, for bridges, and sidewalks are all separated. And I haven't done the math, but I'm assuming that they all add up to those same exact numbers on the bottom of those appropriations. Are there any other questions or comments? I do have some questions. And I apologize, I didn't front load any of these questions, but they're not dangerous. I know that we've been seeing your SB1 list year to year. I don't know that I've seen one this year, but I know they listed like Rainbow Road or a bunch of roads in the North Lakeport area. Have those roads been done already? Because I don't see them on the list here. So I just was wondering if that was going to happen or not. I do see SB1 dollars has been pushed into the Cobb area roads. Just kind of curious.
So you'll be seeing the SB1 list come to your board, I think it's July the 9th. So that list has been completed, and so you'll see it at your next official board meeting. A lot of those projects, you mentioned Rainbow Road, that road is still on the list of projects that we would like to do. We have completed, one of the roads that was on the list for SB1 was Hendricks Road that we completed last summer. So that road got moved to a completed project list. But you'll see that on the 9th.
Okay, thank you so much. And I know that the anticipation is to go out for bids. Obviously, the main portion of the 10-year plan will be the Cobb area roads. We see that on the capital asset list. But there's a whole bunch of other roads listed on there. Some of them have been there for multiple years. Just kind of curious, are you anticipating to be able to hit all those projects this year based on the fact that it's on our capital asset list for 24-25? Or are they just there to ensure that money is allocated and maybe still accumulating, or maybe going through the CEQA process in order to finalize those projects?
Yeah. So the answer is yes, and it's a little bit of both. We create placeholders partly as a requirement of SB1, but also to create projects to just keep them on the burner so we know what we're doing. I can tell you that in the few short weeks, and I am not going to throw him under the bus and have him come up here, but I can tell you that in the last several weeks when, as Glenn has come in and started with the department, the first thing he tackled has been the capital improvement projects list, partly to comply with admin's request for overall county capital improvement plan, but also to help familiarize himself with all of the projects that engineering and inspection is working on. And from what I am seeing, he has really put together a solid list. He's developing a solid understanding of the funding sources and the timeframes, and so I'm confident in saying that you're going to see more and more projects as you move forward.
Okay, well, I think we're all excited about hearing that, that's for sure. We want to see as many roads being done as possible every single year, right? My next question to you, and it's just more of a kind of, I guess, a reality check on our anticipated expenses when it comes to the roads. Let me get back to where that is on 3011, budget unit 3011. We are anticipating this year to spending $38 million. Obviously, that deals with the 34 potential staff that make up the Public Roads Department, Public Works Roads Department, but also it's the projects that are there. I guess the question is similar to the question for the capital assets. Is that what we hope to spend, or is it just to cover all of those other projects that may be still in the works for multiple years down the road? Just because I see us spending historically $8 million, $7 million, $9 million, and 38 just seems way outside of the norm. I know we didn't have our 10-year plan in the past before. There's been a lot of work to engineer some of the work that's going to be done later this year. Just kind of wanted to get a better concept of what we should realistically expect.
Before I answer the question, you're throwing me just a little bit with historic numbers. I look at the adopted budget for the road department in 22-23, and it was $37 million. So our road department budget's been up in the $30 million range for several years, and I think what you're seeing is the difference between discretionary funding and the overall road department funding. And I know there's probably people sitting at home watching this saying, wait a second, that road department budget's $38 million. that's the total amount using all of the available funding sources that we have and the projects that we have on the books. That's what we are budgeting to spend. Our discretionary funds are significantly less than that. And the discretionary funds are your SB1 dollars, and a lot of the, well, not a lot, but a good portion of the gas tax funding that we receive goes to staff salaries and materials and all those kinds of things. So though the budget is quite large at 38 million, the majority of that is already designated for specific projects, either preliminary design or construction. And so we have to have that funding in place so that, as we work on bridge projects, we have to pay for that, and then we seek reimbursement from the state on that. So that's how that cash flow works. I hope I answered the question.
I think it's good enough. What I think you made the same statement that I have in my mind is, when the public sees 38 million, how do we better explain what that represents? Because when they see the quality of the roads and they see 38 million, it doesn't quite come together, especially when it's on an annual basis. That's what we are adopting.
Well, I can tell you the majority of that is through the Highway Bridge Program. Bridges cost us between engineering, environmental, and construction, we're probably spending $7 to $8 million a bridge. And we have multiple bridges. We probably have 7 or 8 bridges, in a couple of them in construction, and we have many others that are in various stages of design. And you have heard me say that as a Public Works Director, I love the HBP program because it allows us to replace structures that we ordinarily would not have the funding to replace. But as a taxpayer, $7 to $8 million per bridge is a lot of money. And because it's federal dollars that are run through the state, the bridges are all federalized. So we have increased environmental review, we have CEQA and NEPA, and the bridges have to be designed to AASHTO standards, which is a federal standard. And so the bridges are very expensive to build and design, and the additional environmental, and that's all contributes to those higher costs.
Now, and I appreciate the level of access that you've had to that program. I know it was highlighted by Congressman Thompson, in fact. And just a real quick statement on your engineer and your capacity at this moment to do the work needed in light of your vacancies. I'm glad that we have the extra contract to be able to supplement that and make sure that we're still moving forward with all of these projects. So those are all my questions and comments. Thank you. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, just a follow-up question, and thank you. I feel like I'm getting real-time education on deep dives into the budget, and I'm so sad I won't be able to do it, say, about 6 months from now. But having looked at the capital asset list right up top on page 1, I see a water line for South Main Street and Soda Bay Road, which makes me deliriously happy because that's been a core concern of mine for the time I have been on this board, but I wasn't aware of that.
And that is not on this budget. That will be a discussion with probably special districts or with a lot of the other projects on there from Director Ewing. Not that one specifically.
That's not a Public Works?
No.
No, but if you go down to the roads, you will see the widening of Soda Bay Road, which is a Public Works.
Okay, I'll save my question for special districts.
And the underground utilities and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Yeah, Scott, I just wanted to ask about on Budget Unit 3011 or 6309. Is that part of the grant that when you were attending the SERTH committee meeting, is that the grant that you were talking about? I know there was a grant, because they were talking about some crosswalks for schools, and all three of the MACs in my district have been talking about that. And I also offered to provide some discretionary funds to help with that. Just wanted to see if that was in that budget unit, or is that a different?
Well, let's see if we have that broken down here.
I know we did do a swap with the Canocti Road sidewalks.
It's a different project. The crosswalks it's a different grant. There's one, there in Kelseyville too.
Yeah, it was a different one he was talking about with schools or something like that. Yeah.
So the two projects that are included in 6309 are the Canocti Road Sidewalk Project that we received some federal funding through Congressman Thompson, and the completion of the Middletown multi-use path.
Oh, okay, so that's not the one, okay.
No, those sidewalk projects that you're speaking about are,
I know at the APC, there was a report from Caltrans. I know they're planning to do a lot of work. I didn't hear anything about our local county, so I'm not sure.
I know those are on, I think, on the highway. These ones were more along the lines of the crosswalks at the school, just basically at the school, because they were doing some,
With the lights.
something like that. It was a grant that they were either
Yeah.
applying for or received or something like that, and so, yeah.
thanks. Those are going to be in 5355 road and bridge, other charges, road improvements. So those projects are included in 5355.
Oh, okay. And then just to make sure, I did agree to commit some of the discretionary funds to help with that, to ensure that all three schools were addressed. And so just wanted to make sure to state that. And then just lastly, with the bridges, I know that it's been something since I've got on, and I think probably before it's been an issue, is the Spring Valley Bridge. You know, they only have one way in, one way out. And I don't know if that's something that's been addressed, or that's in one of these budget items for the future, or if we need to have another.
That's a capital improvement project that,
Okay.
I think there's an opportunity to pursue perhaps hazard elimination or hazard mitigation funds. And if it's not already on the list, we'll make sure that it is.
Okay. Thank you.
The crosswalks, is this happening this summer?
I couldn't answer that. We're trying. It's a project that we're probably going to end up giving to Coastland to get done. The limited window, trying to get these things done, and we have a lot of projects already under construction. So we're working on it.
Okay.
I think if I remember you had mentioned it needs to be upgraded to NEPA, since now it's using federal
That's the
dollars.
sidewalk.
The Kelseyville sidewalk will,
It's a
yes.
different project.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Let's open it up for the public. Do we have something from our ACAO? Deputy.
DCAO has something.
DCAO.
So on budget unit 3122 for the airport, we need to add in some appropriations and revenue. So we need to add to 8122 $45,600, which will be coming from 1781. In appropriations, increase 1,400 to 500, or increase it by $500. 18 needs to increase by $26,000. 26 needs to increase by $13,000. 30 is going to increase by $1,800. 38 needs to increase by $4,300. It was removed in error. The $4,100 was removed in error, and so we need to add in $200 for the pilot's lounge, fax machine, and printer.
And what does that bring our total appropriations?
Give me just a second.
while she's doing that, these were extraordinary requests that we generally don't approve. And see, the department's unaware of this at the time, right now. These are extraordinary requests that generally don't go through until September. But Pilot's Lounge has already been prior approved by the board, and they're going to start having expenses now. So, are you calculating? So, the difference is the Pilot's Lounge of 16,500 and then just about 25,000 for balancing their budget, which is how it's verbalized. There's still about 30,000 that isn't in there that we'll talk about for September. That's towards the department.
So the total appropriations are now at $130,065.
Thank you very much. Go ahead and open it up for the public. Anyone wish to speak on this item? I see none in the Zoom room, no one moving in the chamber. I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve budget items 1903, 1908, 3011, 3062 through 3081, 3122 with the appropriation of $130,065. Let's see, 3123, 8463, 8464 through 8472, 8483 through 8492, 9905, 9907, 9908, and 9909. Lastly, 9911.
Do we need to change
As
revenues at all, or no?
As amended?
As amended.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I got something else too. I was just looking at, there was one public comment.
Oh.
And is this where we're supposed to take that public comment? It's about Julia Carrera about
The water resources.
Yeah,
water. Okay, all right. Just want to make sure we didn't miss it.
thank you for the reminder, though. Okay, we have a motion. Did we get a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.